Shall we continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, so let's discuss central processing unit a little bit more. So, irrespective of connection types, what we talked about earlier. So, central processing unit basically incorporate hyper-threading and transport to enhance the performance of CPU. So the amount of the data that a CPU can handle and process at a time depends on the size of the processor and data bus. I think we also address those things, right? And the clock speed, megahertz, gigahertz, right? And overclocking, which we use to make the processor work at a faster speed than its original specification. So central processing unit basically have different version like in term of packaging, right? The ones is one CPU you see here. This is one chip, right? One's central. This is CPU. Now, how many? This is one package. I would better say one package. How many are there inside? So there could be two core inside a single CPU. There three core inside a single. So if there are two, we call them dual core CPU, triple core CPU, quad core. If there are four cores processor inside one package, or hexa-core CPU for six core inside a single CPU. Greek letter means, right? So dual, triple, quad, hexa, octa. So as the number of cores are increasing. So you check it inside your system and see how many cores you have. I have quad core CPU for my computer. How about you? How many cores are in your system CPU? Do you
Mm,
know that?
let
Quad
me
core, ma'am.
Quadcore, ma'am. Improper
Quad,
Quadcore.
really? Quad core. Okay, just for two peoples, right? Other
Hexacore,
peoples,
ma'am. Hexacore.
X. Really, very good. Awesome. And anybody else know how many
Hexacore, ma'am.
cores? Hexacore. So most of you have hexacore. Hexacore is cheaper in India, right? Correct? Maybe. It's expensive. It's very expensive. Hexa means you have six core processors. Some people say, "Hey, I have quad core in my cell phone," you know. So they carry quad core in their cell phone, and might be their cell phone is more stronger than the CPU we might have in inside our system. Anyways, so what is the point of having? Oops, this is jumping in. Let me try to fix this window so I can see who is coming in and who want to come in the class. This helps me to manage, but it's not letting me to sit on one corner. Maybe like this. Okay, better. So to quad core means the number of core processors inside single package. So as you know, CPU runs and current is passing through the system, and huge devices are running inside on the motherboard. So computer perform better when they kept cooled. So it case so flow of current causes heat energy to produce, right? So you might touch any device like your monitor, your system case, or your TV you're running, or any other electrical or electronic device was running for longer time. So you will feel that heat energy is dissipating by their body, right? So case fan basically, so we need to cool it down in case of the CPU especially, right? Otherwise, if we don't cool it down, it won't work properly. It start bizarre doing like shutting down the system or restarting more frequently, yeah, right? So if it feels hot, So case fan makes cooling process more efficient. Heat sinks draws a heat away from the core of the CPU, and a fan on the top of the heat sinks moves the heat away from the CPU. So fan can be dedicated to cool the graphical processing unit or GPU. Computer are kept cool using the active and passive cooling solution. So active cooling solution basically requires a power, while passive. So here you can see the example of active and passive cooling. So here is a power cord, so it needs to be connected to the power supply, or motherboard header. Motherboard has different size of header to connect the power supply on different for different devices. So passive cooling, just in like fan, and it provides the extension of heat or absorption of heat. So passive solutions for cooling usually involves reducing the speed at which the component is operating, or adding heat sink to the computer chip. If I go back a bit, uh, so this one, right? This one. This is the fan, right? So fan, and underneath of this fan, heat sink. Heat sink is nothing but a metallic piece. A metallic piece have a bigger area, right? So when we place this heat sink over the CPU, basically sink the heat from the CPU. Okay? So because of its area, because of its metal property, so it absorbs. We say that it absorbs the heat out of the CPU, right? So and then over the heat sink we place this fan, and fan provide additional cooling to the CPU system. Otherwise, CPU get warm up or heat up and cannot work properly in a way as it's supposed to be. Excuse me. So let's think of type of memory. What type of memory is there? What is the uh, computer might use different type of memory chip, like ROM, right? So all memory chips stores data in the form of bytes, whether it is ROM or volatile or non-volatile kind, or RAM, or different type of memory we have. But they all store data in form of bytes, which we have already discussed. Read-only memory, basically basic instructions for stores basic instructions for booting the computer and loading the operating system. ROM is ROM BIOS, we call sometimes, right? Basic input output system, ROM BIOS, right? So ROM BIOS is basically kind of ROM memory, which stores a basic input output system, procedures or programs, which are basic instructions how to boot the computer, how to load the operating system from hard drive to computer memory. So RAM chip basically retain their contents even when the computer is powered down and cannot be erased or rewritten. You know what? This kind of memory we call, which can keep the information even the power is down, is non-volatile Non-volatile means it does not really require the plug-in power, but it does require another kind of power, which is the BIOS battery. I think I showed you in an earlier slide.
Ma'am, are you talking about the CMOS battery?
Yes, CMOS batteries like in circular silver coin shaped battery on motherboard, you can find in anywhere like this one, right? So it provides the power to this RAM BIOS. So that's how they can retain the data even the main power is off, right? So we call them in non-volatile kind. So there are some other type of ROM, uh, like basic ROM, right? Simple ROM, read-only memory. ROM for read-only memory. As the name indicate, read-only memory. Read-only memory means processor can only read in term of processor we're talking, not us, right? So it is this term in term of processor. So processor can only read information from this memory, cannot write. It cannot be done inside the system if it is a kind of ROM to basically program a factory and cannot be erased or rewritten when they are inside them on the motherboard. Other type of those are the older type of the ROM. We don't have it anymore in our newer system. We have like a kind of electrical erasable programmable read-only memory or ESCAP So other type is PROM, which is manufactured blank and can be programmed only once. Programmed means those programs are hard code, right? Hard code, not soft code. Like it is with the hardware they are written the instructions inside the memory. It is stored inside the memory locations, which is basically an 8 byte locations. So other type is erasable EPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory. It can be erased by exposing its strong ultraviolet light. So this can be rewritten. Erasable programmable read-only. So some you have written one set of information, you want to change the program written there. So you have there is a specific device which is EPROM writer. So, which basically expose the ultraviolet light over the surface. This you see this window here, right? This window. So those windows basically those windows, right? So those windows basically it receives that's basically used to write the hard code through some ultraviolet radiations pass through the body of the memory and erase the information, and then you can rewrite the new programs there. Manufacturer basically. Or programmer also do that. Some hardware designers, computer engineers, they does this one thing. Electrical erasable programmable read-only memory, or E square PROM. E square PROM can be reprogrammed while it's still in the computer. Like this one, we have it in our newer computers, where you go to the BIOS setup and you make some changes, and you can write down those changes inside the BIOS memory once you hit the save button there, right? Question if you have on this slide. Hello?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No,
No, ma'am.
ma'am.
So the things are crystal clear or not clear? Clear, hopefully. Are you familiar with any of them? Which one you are familiar with? All of them? Hmm? All of them, right? Really? Excuse me. Uh, so those are the ROM. Another type of memory is RAM, kind of random access memory. Have you ever heard that term before? RAM. One type. So we have two main classes. One is the ROM, or read-only memory, and another is ROM. Sorry, RAM, random access memory. Have you ever heard this term before?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you know about it? Just few words. Other than random access memory, this mnemonics.
This is the memory in which the whole computer runs.
Okay, this is the memory which basically stores the data for CPU, right? Your operating system, whole computer runs means your operating system.
And ma'am, it said the basic data information like date, time, etc.
No, no.
That's for Rome, I guess.
Yes,
Oh, sorry,
date,
it's my wrong.
date and time and all those basic location information that is basically inside ROM. So if you change date, time, system information, that's basically it is stored inside the ROM. Yes. Anything else which you would like to add with memory?
Short-term memory is stored in RAM.
Short-term memory, okay, you would like to call it short-term memory. We call non-volatile, right? So it's a kind of volatile basically. Volatile means which erase the data as the power terms of. Short term means in a term of volatile, right? Volatile memory, which requires power to maintain. As you turn off your system, you turn off your laptop, right? So all data will be wiped off. Means what was the data there? As someone said, it runs the entire computer. Let me rephrase this statement. It basically holds or it holds the operating system. The operating system is inside your hard drive, right? So CPU or BIOS basically helps to load the operating system from your hard drive to memory, and then computer runs the instruction from memory to the CPU. All right. Not a bad idea. Good thought. Thanks for sharing. Uh, RAM is a temporary storage for data and programs that are being accessed by the CPU. And RAM is a volatile memory, which means the contents are erased when the computer is powered off. All data moving in and out of the processor must be loaded into the RAM first. So this is the computer is what, this is hard disk, right? In memory, and then CPU, right? So I skipped the other parts. So where is what the hard disk has? What is there inside hard disk? Well, everything you run on computer is inside hard disk. Is that correct? Is that correct? What is inside hard disk? Hello?
Ma'am, it's storage for the data.
Well, I'm not looking very, very specific or formal kind of definition. Just give me your thought, quick thought. Um, what is inside hard disk? Hard disk has you install anything on computer. You say I install game, right? You say right. This what do you install on your computer? Did you install anything on your computer? Any software?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was the latest last software which you have installed on your computer? What was the last software you installed on your computer?
IT.
Uh,
Ubuntu.
Hmm?
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu was lost software. Okay, you are
I
very,
didn't
very,
Ubuntu.
huh? Ubuntu. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is an operating system, right?
Yes.
It is an operating system. Okay, so so you install operating system. You install any device, any program, application, program, right? Application program means it can be anything, anything which you run on computer. You go to the icon, you, whether it is game or your Ubuntu or virtual machine, etc., etc. So operating system, main operating system, your Windows operating system, right? So this is all here when you install. Where is your operating system? It is in a hard disk, right? Not in CPU, not in memory. Well, you turn on computer. What happens? Operating system is here, right? CPU get information from BIOS, and BIOS tells CPU, okay, you need an operating system, so load it. So CPU load the operating system, sends the instruction, and then it loads the operating system from hard disk to memory, right? Or any other application from hard disk to memory. From memory, it reads, then CPU reads the instructions or program or MS Word or your Ubuntu or any other applications or game application, whatever, right? So it reads those applications from memory and then it processes it, right? And if it need to write some results, okay, this is what I process and this is the result. So it sends this result back to the memory. If it is happening like this, so memory is basically then in case kind of RAM. Why? Because it's storing the information, all information with the computer needs, all kind of data, all kind of application programs, right? And so if you can randomly access any memory location and can get the information, that's why we call it the random access memory. All data moving in and out of the processor must be loaded in RAM first, and then from RAM, then it goes to the CPU. The maximum amount of the memory that can be uh, stored, can be accessed by the CPU is limited by the motherboard, right? Motherboard chipset. So motherboard chipset decide how much memory you can have. Well, you cannot just have any amount like 16 GB or 32 GB. Won't if you like to install. You first check with your system configuration, motherboard configuration. So
Excuse
if
me,
it
ma'am.
allow, yes.
Ma'am, some students are waiting in waiting room.
I don't see anybody there. Oops. Okay. So it is a makes sense. Like if you like to, you think, okay, I'm going to upgrade my memory to from 16 GB to 32 GB, right? So well, you first check with your motherboard chipset whether it allows to install further the memory or not, because the size all depends upon, right? How much address bus is there? What is the size of data bus, address bus? On that basis, you can have more memory on your computer. So memory basically comes in different type of modules. Memory, how does it looks like? So those are the memory modules. You see here? This is the printed circuit boards are same where your motherboard like in kind of the same one, but not exactly. But it's a printed circuit board, PCB, which has different ICs. Those ICs, integrated circuits. Those black chips, those are chips. We call them chips, right? Chips is not in potato chips, which you can eat, really. Don't try to eat them. Okay. Those are the electronic devices, integrated circuits, chips or integrated ICs or integrated circuits. So those are basically how many they are installed. You see here, one, two, three, four, five, six. So six, seven, eight, maybe eight, or it's if there are eight chips, you may think it is an 8 GB, 8 GB of memory. One chip may store 1 GB of data. Well, it depends on how it is manufactured. But the way they are placed, those chips are placed on this memory module, right? So it makes a different memory module. So it's a packaging, right? So one 16 GB or 32 GB or 8 GB cannot be just one chip. No, it's not possible because of the manufacturing limitation. It has to be distributed among different chips which are aligned on different memory modules. So memory modules are memory chips that have been soldered on a special circuit board for easy installation and removal, as I just have mentioned in this earlier slide. Right? So those are the memory modules. Modules, banks, or sometimes we call memory banks, right? So they basically soldered. This is soldered memory. So you see the golden colors lines, silver colored lines. Those are the soldering and connections. So the speed of the memory has a direct impact how much data a processor can process, because faster memory improves the performance of the processor. As a processor speed increases, the memory speed must also be increased. You know, who's the fastest device inside the computer? Which device is the super fast device inside the computer? Every device has different speed inside computer. You know, memory has different speed. Other adapter adapter cards have different speed. CPU is the different one. So fastest is the CPU. That's the fastest one. So CPU performs several tasks in nanoseconds, right? Because of its clock speed. So if CPU is reading and writing information or accessing memory, want to access memory, right? So memory speed must be compatible also with the CPU speed. Otherwise, the system going to be slowed down. Okay. So the memory modules like dual inline or DIP module is an individual memory chip with dual rows of pin. DIP package. This is the DIP package, you know. Have you ever heard about those modules? You know which memory modules your system has? Do you know that?
No, ma'am.
Well,
No,
if
ma'am.
it,
Oh, ma'am.
well, you can find out it. It's easy to find out. You know. Let me go. Let me see if I can go through. Control Alt Del key. Right? You hit this Control Alt Del key, and then you get to the Task Manager.
Ma'am, I think it's Control Shift Escape.
Yeah, so there is a performance tab, right? So if you go to the memory, so like I have sodium type of memory, that's a memory module, right? That is a module which is basically used inside laptop computers. You check it out in if you are using the laptop, it's going to be sodium kind. If you're using desktop, it could be a dim type or dim or six, right? Okay, so dual inline package is basically kind of like a single chip, right? Single chip. This single chip has dual inline connection. Those are the inline connections, right? Both sides. That's why we call it dual inline package. But there's not a single chip on the memory. There are multiple chips are soldered to give you the more space, you know. Question if you have.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So things are clear, right? Hopefully. Well, I'm trying to find out the best place for this thingy. Okay. Not really. It's not the place. This is better. Okay. So dual inline memory model or DIMMs is a circuit board that hosts the SDRAM or DDR or SDRAM or DDR2. Like I have DDR2 kind of memory. You check it in under the same performance tab. So it will tell you whether you have DDR2, DDR3, or DDR4 kind of. But they are installed on DIMM kind. SIM is basically is a small circuit board, and that holds several memory chips, and it comes in 30 and 72 pin configured. Dual inline means we have connection at both sides, right? Dual inline has a connection at both sides. So if you ever see the memory modules, this is one memory module, right? This is a kind of like dual DIMM kind of memory because the connection on this side, if you flip this board, you would see there is also connection on both sides. So connection on both sides of this board, right? This is what we call dual inline package. So if there is a connection, only one side connection, that is a single inline module. SIMs are older, but now we have a kind of a DIMM memory, which has SDRAM or DDR or SDRAM, DDR SDRAM or DDR2 SDRAM. RAM bus inline memory or RIMS is a circuit board that holds the read-write memory chip. A small outline DIMMs or SODIMMs. This is pronounced as SODIMM. I just have shown you that I have SODIMM on my computer, on this computer. Small outline DIMMs is basically a smaller, more condensed version of the DIMMs, which provides random access data storage that is ideal for use in laptop, printers, and other devices. So we're conversing space is desirable. Laptop has a small area, right? Small areas. So those basically use. They don't use they use the DIMMs, but this is a special kind of DIMMs, right? So this is sodium, is small outline. This is a chip size is very. This board size is quite small as compared to you see here. There's a bigger one, right? So it is also small, but for laptop is quite smaller than this DIMMs modules. Did you check out what kind of modules you have inside your system?
Ma'am, SODIMM.
We call this SODIMM, right? SODIMM, we pronounce it SODIMMs. SODIMM is a small outline. So everybody has SODIMM, really? All you using laptop?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone who is using desktop computer?
No, ma'am.
Nobody has a desktop, really? Tushar says, Tushar says, I have desktop. Tushar, did you check what type of memory you have? Go to the
Yeah, ma'am.
performance. So this is what we call DIMM, right? So this is DIMMs. This is how it pronounced, DIMMs memory. So dual inline memory, because it comes in like in most of the desktop modules. So So type of we are talking about different memory random access RAMs. Static RAM is SRAM, and then there is other type is DRAM, right? So DRAM basically, have you ever heard those terms before? SRAM or DRAM? Any of you?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have
No,
never, okay, you never heard about RAM, but you did heard about MAM, right? Correct?
Ha 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 ha.
Correct?
Trying to become funny.
No? You just have told me, ma'am, right? So this is don't know about that. You never. Okay, no problem. So let's focus now.
Ma'am, I heard about SDRAM.
Okay. So what it is? Tell us.
It is ma'am single data rate.
Okay. So SRAM and DRAM, S for static RAM, D for dynamic. Well, the memory on chip on motherboard is a kind of DRAM, right? And the memory is the cache memory, which is on processor inside the CPU. It is used as a cache, right? Inside CPU. CPU also has some built-in memory, where it is stores immediate or most frequently used information in data. So DRAM is basically slower as compared to the static RAM, and cheaper as compared to static RAM, right? The advantage, as it is cheaper, can be built in bigger cell size like 1632 or something like that. But it requires a frequent refresh cycle because the technology used to fabricate is different from the technology used to fabricate as static. It's used solid state devices, SM, solid state devices like transistors and diodes. Dynamic RAM basically use capacitors to store one or zeros, right? So it stores one and zeros, but in form of solid state devices. So it use capacitor, and capacitor charges and discharges, and charge means one and stores, and discharge means zeros is there, right? But capacitor may discharge a little bit as times is running. So sometimes we need the CPU need to refresh the memory by rewriting the information. It has some refresh cycle. It has requires some refresh. Like you say, hey, I need to refresh my some contents what I have studied sometimes, right? Because you know that information, but maybe some of the information is not really remember exactly in a way as it's supposed to be. It similarly happens to the DRAM. DRAM says, hey, I have information, but I may lose some and might lose some of them. Then you have to refresh it. The operating system sends in a refresh cycle and it loads the information. Synchronous RAM or SDRAM is a kind of DRAM, but it's a different, a little bit different technology in terms of time constraints. SDRAM DRAMs has different versions, like updated versions. What those updated versions are, like double data rate, synchronous, dynamic RAM, or DDR SDRAM. So we omit this when we referring this kind of technology. We omit this one and we just say, hey, it is DDR kind, or DDR2 or DDR3 or DDR4. So check out in your system using the same performance step and see if what kind of memory type of RAM you have. Is it a DDR3 or 4? Check it out and let me know if you can.
In DDR4, ma'am.
Okay, so who said that?
Akash.
Ak- Akash has a DDR4. So how they differ? Look at the modules. DDR, DDR2. This is green board. It is where we place those ICs, chips. Those are the chips, right? Remember, those are integrated circuits. I'm just reading the text message. Ma'am, is this correct? RAM can slow down your computer if there is not enough of it. Yes. Yes, correct. Yes. SDRAM is DDR is well, it's not about the capacity. DDR is not about the capacity. DDR about their speed, right? So DDR about their speed, mainly concerned about the speed. Yes, Pavesh, that's the correct part about what you said. Who is asking me to check if it is correct? Okay, Harshot. Yes, it is. It has different size. Yes, SDRAM is basically um that's an all about the speed, like how fast are they? The one is as DDR4 is the fastest. DDR4 is the fastest among them, right? I have to believe a little bit faster, because there's many more things need to be addressed. So look at this modules. They differ. How do you, if you look at the chip, you're going to purchase it, right? So DDR, if you're going to purchase a memory module for your system or for your customer system, how do you differentiate whether it is DDR4, 3, or 2? You
A
look at
pin
this.
layout.
Yes, this module has a specific outline which basically defines. Look at this notch location, right? Notch location, it's in middle for DDR2 in DDR, and it is on one side in DDR3, right? And in DDR4, it is again in the middle, right? But it has more capacity and different notch setting here, right? So this is basically identifier. If whether it is a kind of a quick identifier, you look at this notch. This is how the pins are modules. It goes inside the slots, memory slots you have seen on motherboard, right? Okay, so DDR double data rate. DDR, as I said, DDR stands for double data rate SD kind of RAM. So data rate was initially for SDRAM. Uh, for SDRAM, it was like 50 megahertz, right? 50 mega. Then DDR was introduced. It was the doubles the data rate. And instead of 50, it has 100 to 200 megahertz because it basically uses both edges of the clock. This is the clock pulse, clock signal, which is used inside the system to clock to time for timing. This is clock. Right? How fast it is moving, we talked about earlier. This is cycles and hertz, all those things, right? So clock basically has two edges, right? One edge is falling edge. This is falling edge and rising edges. If we are considering the cycle at every edge, then the data rate is doubles. This is what we call double data rate. Hundreds to 200 megahertz in So this is the data transfer rate. So transfer rate is basically defined in terms of mega transfer per second. Mega transfer per second is basically uh, defines defines the data block, right? How fast the data block can be transferred, efficiently transferred per clock cycle. I think I'm disconnected. One second. Let me see. Okay, so this is, you can see in this table the different speed, like it doubles, right? So from DDR to DDR2 is 200 to 533 mega. This is the bus clock, and this is mega transfer per second. Mega transfer means it's transferring at two edges, right? So it doubles the clock, 200, 100, and then 200, doubles the clock speed, right? So because transferring of data happening the transferring of data is happening at both edges. This is we call the uh, rising edge of the clock, right? This is rising edge and this is the falling edge of the clock. So data is basically transferred at both edges, then it doubles the clock rate, right? So mega transfer per second. This is the what we call it bus rate or bus clock. You remember the buses, right? What is the bus? Who remember that terminology? Buses, we used it before.
Transfer the
Line
data.
topology.
Is
Data
a
transfer.
conduction path for data transfer, right?
Yes,
Those
ma'am.
those are the conduction paths for data transfer. So so there could be 16-bit data bus, 32-bit, or 64-bit data bus, right? Or bus size. So data transfer bus has the clock, how fast that, like how, like highway has an speed. If you travel, if you drive here in Toronto or in Brampton area, you will see the speed is listed there, 60 meter per second or something, like kilometers per second. So that's we call the highway speed, or this road has a speed, right? So buses has also speed, which is basically depending on the clock speed you're using inside the system. So DIMM size, number of pins varies. Try to remember those pins. I may ask you in your midterm test. What is the how many pins are available? In maximum, we have it in a DDR4, 288 pins. For DDR2 and DDR3 are same, 240 pins. This is how they come. So number of pins here, DDR3. You see here the number of pins for DDR2 and DDR4. DDR3 is same, but for DDR4 it is more. It's 288. And the speed mega transfer is also changing. So another type of memory is SRAM, which I had mentioned here. SRAM is static RAM. It's faster than DRAM, inexpensive as well, and it is used as cache memory to store the most frequently data. SRAM basically provides the processor with faster access to the data than retrieving it from the slower DRAM or the main memory is made up of. This is the main memory component. Main memory. We call it main memory. Main memory means which is installed on the motherboard, right? And then there is another type of the memory, which is basically inside the CPU. Inside the CPU. CPU has its own memory also, which is SRAM, right? So SRAM is a quite expensive memory. Cannot be the bigger in bigger amounts, right? Because of the size constraints and uh, in the technology, fabrication technology. uh, it is faster. The speed of the memory has a direct impact how much data a processor can process in a given amount of the time. So the fastest memory is typically the static memory or SRAM, which is used as cache memory. So cache has different levels. L1 and L2 cache and L3 cache. L1 was initially introduced and is integrated into the CPU, inside the CPU, right? It is a part of the CPU. And L2 cache was originally mounted on the motherboard, but now it is also uh, integrated into the CPU. So L2 was initially like on motherboard, closer to the CPU initially, and because the main memory is a little bit farther. This is the main memory, right? So it is the little bit farther from the CPU. You know, CPU is here, and your memory slots is here, right? This is a too much displacement for the processor to get the information from here to bring the information from memory to this CPU. This takes times. So what the CPU does, it carries is some built-in memory, which is cache memory, a kind of SRAM. This is a kind of DRAM, right? DRAM. Are you going to remember those things, right? Hopefully. All right. So L3 cache is used, and they come in small size. They don't come in like 16 GB SRAM or 32 GB SRAM, right? No, not really. They come in megabyte scales, like 512 megabytes or something like that. So L3 cache use some high-end workstation and server CPU. That's a kind of L3 cache memory. Uh, Memory has some error checking mechanism. So different type of error checking methods include to verify whether the data is stored inside the memory chip is correct or not, right? Maybe CPU wants to write one to memory, right? But it sends one to be written in the memory. This is the memory block. Okay, let me put it like this. So this is memory modules of 1 byte, right? For instance, and CPU is here and sends the 1 byte of data to be written here, right? Oh, what happened? It sends 10101110 something like that, right? And say, hey, you're going to store this information here. Well, if any one of bit change from 1010 from 1 to 0, right? It changed the information. This is what we call error in data store. So error in data stores, for instance, it sends 1 to be written, but it may be written as 0 there, right? In a specific position. So there is an error checking method, which not all in kind of memory. So the type of the error checking method includes non-parity, parity, or ECC. So when you purchase a memory, you will get all that kind of information from the manufacturer, right? Let me show you the manufacturer website if I can. I'm just writing in my Google bar RAM DDR2 man or DDR3 you said you have, right? Module. So you type in there. Let me go to Amazon. It has $204. Are you guys following along?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You can do it at your end also. So this is DDR3 kind of memory, right? So this notch is here and chips are there. What information are there? Is a dual in kind 3,200 mega transfer per second, right? And this is how they classify mega transfer per second. That's because of speed, right? So higher speed is also available. What else information? You will find some error checking information as well. If it has must be printed there, right? So this is kind of SODIMM memory, DDR4 SODIMM. Okay, so this is DDR4 SODIMM, 32 GB, available in two memory blocks of 2 by 16 GB, right? So it comes like this. It's going to be installed on laptop at the back of your laptop, like here's in space. And if you turn your laptop back, but not now, so you'll find some slots there available and under the cover. And this is Amazon.ca websites. There is more information you can find. This one. Error checking or no DDR sodium is not. Let's find. This one, DDR3. You check it out at your site. What does it say? Maybe you find it a cheaper memory in your country, right? So this information is very important, right? So CLI 11, number of pins, and speed, you know. There is, I'm just wondering to tell you something about ECC error checking. This module doesn't have it. Yeah, this model doesn't have it because it's a laptop. That's why. Okay. So, anyways, so you will find some letters like it's a kind of ECC memory or a kind of parity or non-parity. If nothing mentioned, then it's a non-parity. Non-parity that's an error checking technique, right? Parity, it checks the parity. So like memory, let me summarize briefly tell you. 8-bit of information is stored there, right? So you 1 0 1 0 0 0, right? So it has a parity bit there, additional bit. This 8-bit, this is 8-bit and this is the 9-bit, which is not the data actually, it's a parity bit, right? So it can be set or reset to 0. It basically used to check that if any bit is changed, then the parity of the bit changed. Parity is nothing but like a number of ones and zeros, number of ones inside the information, like an even parity and an odd parity. So if the number of ones are odd, then it has an odd parity, and even parity, like if number of ones are even, then it's an even parity. So that's an error checking technique, which basically identifies to whether the bit, any bit is changed inside the memory data, question if you have. So ECC memory can detect multiple bit error in memory and correct single bit error in memory. Parity is just cannot do like any error. It can check error but cannot correct. So ECC kind of memory not only checks the multiple bits, and this is to check only one bit error. If only one bit error change from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, so it can figure it out. But the ECC checks multiple bit error. Also, it correct it. If any bit change from its original value, it change it to its original value. Adapt. Question if you have on this slide.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Shall we
No, ma'am.
continue? Shall we continue or you need a quick break of 5 minutes?
Ma'am, quick break for 5 minutes,
We need
please.
a break.
Okay, 8:40 is right now. 8:41.
8:42.
So 42. Okay, we'll try to come back 8:47. Correct?
Ma'am, 10 minutes.
Well, after 10 minutes, the class time is going to be over. Okay. Try to just come back within 10 minutes.
Excuse me, ma'am.
अभी भी चल रहा है
नहीं चल रहा.
unlock the door. What? Why? Go now. What? What is going on? You need to trust me. Get to the basement. No. Not until you tell me why. Okay, but then you go to the basement no matter what. Got it? Yes. Okay, let's see what's happening. I'm going to tell you something. And just remember that I love you, White. I love you so much, honey. Mom! Sweetie, you're adopted? What? And your birth mother found us and is coming. So I love this.
Yeah.
Yes. So you guys have completed with your assignment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll check it. I will look at it, and not now. Let me finish this topic first. Then I will look at it. What did you submit there?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Um.
Okay, ma'am.
Also,
And
ma'am, some guys are in waiting room. Can you please check the waiting room?
well, the waiting room is disabled. I think everybody can come in. It's disabled already. So we're talking about the error checking technique. So there are two main types. One is the parity kind, and another is the ECC. Parity is basically check one bit error out of 8-bit data. 8-bit data, if any bit change, then parity, we say parity of the data is changed and it will detect error. ECC is a checks multiple bit error and can not only checks but also correct errors. So it's not used in a general kind of application. ECC used in sensitive computers where it is very important. If error is happen in the code, it must be fixed. Kind of server application, sensitive information, military applications. So that kind of there we use the ECC kind of memory because it's a little bit expensive than ordinary DDR modules. So some adapter cards, I am pretty sure you are familiar with them, and we discussed them when we're talking about the slots on motherboards, right? So this is the place where we install our DDR kind, whether it is 2, 3, or 4, right? So, and this is the place where we install our expansion cards. Expansion cards, sometimes called adapter cards. Adapter cards can be a sound, can be a NIC, or can be a ESET, or can be a video adapter. Are you familiar with any of them or all of them? Excuse me. Please do respond when I ask you something. It gives me a sense that you guys are here and following along or not following along.
Okay,
Are
ma'am.
you still on break?
Yes, ma'am. We do know them all.
You know all of them? Okay. Everybody? Everybody
Yes,
is good?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So those are the connection points, right? Those are the posts which comes out of the sound card, and this is the Ethernet port, right? Which comes out the NIC or network interface card, and video adapter, which is enhance the video. So CPU has all those three built-in features. You know, it has a built-in features for sounds management, for video graphics management. On the top of it, if you need an enhanced features, so you install those sound card, video adapter cards, and NIC card. Some CPU has built-in NIC as well. Anyways, NIC stands for network interface card. Can be a wireless NIC, video, USB, or a universal serial bus controller card, or eSATA card for hard drive or external drives. Right? So this is the eSATA card. So where they goes? Those cards goes in their corresponding expansion slots. Most of them goes to PCI, the latest expansion slots we have, PCI kind, PCIe, PCI Express, or PCI X, or PCI X 16, or PCI PCI 8 multiply by 4. So those are the sizes, different sizes, right? So one slot, this can install this size of card, like 8 or 5 cards, right? So two versions you can have it. So this is the blue color. Most of those colored extension cards on motherboard. Color extension cards are uh, slots basically refer to the graphic cards. Okay, so you're supposed to install your graphic adapter to those colored extension cards. So sometimes they are distinct, right? So they are very distinct, so you can easily recognize them on the motherboard. So if you know the contents which I am trying to explain you already, so let me know so I'll quickly move on to the third topic, right? So that's gonna be helpful. So storage devices, we have magnetic type or solid state or optical. Which one you are more familiar with? Which one? Magnetic, solid state or optical or all of them?
Ma'am, all of them.
All of them. All of
So,
them.
so
All
you,
of them.
All of them.
okay, so you have inside your system maybe all of them, right? Desktop, yeah, some like laptops comes up with the optical drives as well, but it increase the weight of like the total weightage of the laptop if it has an optical disc. Like my one laptop has an optical disc, other two doesn't have it. So that's basically increase the weight because this is heavy drive, right? Hard drive so basically is a fixed. Those are the fixed medium, right? It's on the other than the memory or RAM or ROM. Those are also non-volatile. Non-volatile means they keep the information stored there even the power is off. So there is no power, no problem. Data can be stored there. It is a kind of solid state SSD kind of hard drive or magnetic type. A magnetic type of hard drive are basically kind of mechanical hard drive, right? So which has read, write, head, and all those kind of things. So there is an interface card, SATA interface card or serial interface. How they're going to be connected to the motherboard? So how they're going to be connected to the motherboard? Motherboard has cables, right? So those are the cables for connecting your hard drive to the motherboard. So you install the hard drive. So where they're going to connect. So this is for power. This is for your SATA drive. So cable type is Patakyne or ID or extended ID. So 40 pin connectors, ribbon cables, ID kind of connectors is 40 pin or 60 pin connectors, right? 60 pin or six, those are for cables, ribbon cables, right? Kind of like this. I think I have a picture here. Oops. No? Really? Anyways, so this one is basically kind of cables or interface. So a serial is a SATA, we pronounce is a SATA interface, right? Or eSATA interface. External hard drives also use an eSATA. Those are faster than ID kind of. ID was operated on megabits per second, and those are operated at gigabits per second. SATA 1 and SATA 2 and SATA 3. So motherboards has different SATA adapter connectors in different colors. They come up in different colors on motherboard, and you identify which kind of SATA cables you can connect, right? So magnetic type of hard drive. Do you have an SSD or magnetic hard drive?
Both, ma'am.
Both, ma'am.
Really? In one
Yes,
system?
ma'am.
In one
Yes,
system?
ma'am.
You
Yes,
install
ma'am.
both? Everybody has both versions?
Yes, ma'am.
I have access.
Hmm? Everybody has both versions, really? I'm
Yes, ma'am.
surprised.
What
With
version?
both hard disk type or SSD kind of hard drive. This is what I'm asking.
Yes,
How they differ from each other? Do you know? How
SSD
they?
is like really fast, and hard disks are like slowish in terms of like loading stuff.
SSDs, yes, you're right. SSDs have faster um, in term of data transfer. In magnetic, both are hard drive. Anyways, both are kind of storage devices. But the mechanism and manufacturing is different, right? Mechanism is different. So those are hard drive for magnetic type. You can see the different size of my hard drive here. It's like in circular disk, magnetic circular disk, and has a read-write head. You see this one? So you check it in the picture in your textbook or on Google. So this is the read-write head, which basically rotate from one. So it has sectors and tracks. Hard drives has sectors and tracks. Those are basically the ways to organize the data. So tracks are concentric circles, right? So and sectors is a piece of concentric a track, so which stores a specific amount of the data in here. So how the data is stored? By magnetize and demagnetize a particular area of the hard drive by rotating the read-write head to specific locations. So when the read-write head rotated at the speed of rotation per speed, which is basically 5,400 rotation per minute or 7,200 rotation per or 10,000. So rotation per minute means how fast this read, not the hard disk doesn't rotate. It's a read-write head which basically rotates, and there is a motor, AC motors, and it basically rotates the heat write head from one track to another. Yes, you have a question for me? Um, SSD are compact and less volatile than it. Less volatile? I never heard that term before. Less volatile means I heard the term volatile or non-volatile.
Ma'am, HDD over time gets damaged. The plate can lose its magnetic properties, but solid state drives can't.
Yes, okay, in that sense, okay. Uh, uh, vulnerable to damages, right? So more vulnerable to damages, better word you use. Volatile in a sense, those are non-volatile memory, whether it is HDD or SSD kind. Both are non-volatile, which can retain information without power. Common type of magnetic media storage device is traditionalist. This is we call sometimes traditional. This is the first kind of hard drive we have, magnetic kind, right? So that stores data in gigabytes per second or terabytes per second. And external hard drive also both kinds can be in HDD kind or SSD kind. So tape drive, another kind of storage, stores data in gigabytes and terabytes. Has magnetic tapes. Maybe you used to see them watching in different kind of videos, and sometimes videos old days, right? So they come up in video tapes. But we also use them to store the data for backup purpose. For huge amount of the data in data centers, also used tape drives, which we use to store the data. Floppy drive. Have you ever seen floppy? Any of you? Floppy drives?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Floppy,
ma'am.
really? Do you have a floppy drive in your system? In desktop, maybe.
No, ma'am.
No,
Used to.
It was in the desktop.
yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it was used to in older system. Floppy is in a small, like a flexible. Floppy means flexible drive, right?
Ma'am,
It
it's
comes.
too less storage, but
It's a very, yeah, it's a 1.44 megabytes. It's very small. It's almost obsolete nowadays, right? So none of the systems, so you rarely found you, yeah, you may find it in older kind, like 10 years and 15 years old desktop computer or laptop computers, you would find it there. So solid state basically different type of manufacturing, doesn't have mechanical or magnetic assembly to store, excuse me, to store the data. It stores the electric data in the form of electrical charges in semiconductor devices, transistors. As a solid state means, when we say solid state, it means it's all related to semiconductor devices, which is transistors and variety of devices we have here. So I don't need to address them at this point. So they are more faster access to data and improve performance, high reliability, reduce power usage. SSD doesn't have any read-write head, so as it doesn't come up with the motors and a kind of assembly, here in case of magnetic disk, it comes up motors and read-write have it keep rotating. If you turn on your desktop computer, you might heard if it is in hard drive of HDD type, so you would hear the read-write moving spindle noise, right? So it's created sound gear, some gear kind of sounds. It's showing that something is rotating inside the system. That's basically hard drive read-write head, which is keep rotating when you're accessing hard drive. So it has a noise SSD, but SSD kind doesn't have any noisy system, because it's all about solid state. They come with three different type of form factors. So those form factors, you can see here, the one is a kind of simple SSD, right? So it can be installed inside the system assembly, as you have in a HDD kind. Has a casing and all kind of things. So another form factor means the size. Remember the form factor we addressed in terms of power supply and motherboard last time. So SSD comes in this drive form factor, similar to an HDD. This is the disk drive form factor. Another form factor is expansion card. Can be plug in directly into the motherboard as an expansion slot, right? So we have PCI slots. Can be installed in PCI, excuse me, PCIe slots, heaven slots on motherboards, right? And directly on can be installed directly on the motherboard and mounted into computer keys like other expansion cards, MSATA or M.2 modules. This is M.2 modules. Okay. These packages may use an special socket system on motherboard. Has a motherboard having a special socket. You would see here. It's labeled like an M.2, and where you can plug in this SSD. It goes into the vertical standing, right? Question if you have it up to here.
No, ma'am.
Things are clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Crystal clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome. So other as I'm talking about this semiconductor storage, SSD kind in three different kinds. One is a kind of HDD form factor. This is a kind of expansion card form factor, and third one is M.2. M.2, my system has M.2 module. You check it in your system and see. I'll give you another assignment where you're going to check all those things. What kind of memory you have, what kind of modules is installed there, and all those kind of speed and all the site information, right? Which you cannot just get it by looking at the page, something like that. So non-volatile memory expressed in VME specification was developed especially to allow the computer to take greater advantage of features of SSD by providing a standard interface between SSD and PCI bus, the operating system. So NVMe allows a compliant SSD drive to attach to the PCIe bus without requiring special drives. So solid state hybrid drive or SSHD, you might use it inside your camera cameras or like in your smartphones. It is used in a mobile device, right? So it is basically a compromise between a magnetic HDD and an SSD. They are faster than HDD, but less expensive than SDD. And combine a magnetic tape HDD with the onboard flash memory and serving as a non-volatile cache. I think everybody is familiar with flash drive, a USB drive, a pen drive. Those are the terminologies we use. Sometimes some people call USB drive or thumb drive or flash drive or pen drive, right? So those are, those also maintain the power data with no power requirements, right? Can you plug it in in USB ports, USB 3 or USB 2 ports? So optical storage device is another category of the storage devices. You can see here optical disk. This is the assembly which goes inside your computer case, right? And this is like a CD or optical disk. CD is the compact disk, can store audio and data. And DVD is another kind of optical disk. Basically, it uses the optical radiations to store the data, right? So it's not a kind of magnetic type, but it uses lights or lasers to read and write data on the optical disk. They use lasers. So lasers also on the surface to write the specific information on this shiny surface of the CD or DVD. DVD is a digital versatile disk or stores more data more faster than a kind of CD. So Blu-ray disk is another kind of storage, optical disk storage. You use the same optical technology but can store more data at faster speed. Kind of HD digital videos and data. Here is a compact table if you like to for it for your reference. Different type of CD. CD comes up in a smaller size, like in megabytes, but DVD you can find is available in like in gigabytes, right? And Blu-rays is just 3 or 4 times more than the DVD. Like 50 gigabytes dual layers and single layers. Similarly, we have single layer DVD and double side and single side and read write or read only. All kind of DVD ROM or DVD RAM, kind of same concepts of RAM and ROM, right? DVD ROM, it means once it is stored, you just cannot rewrite it. But now we have available DVD kind of read write can easily be found in market, right? Read write means it's a kind of RAM, and you can read and write and through the software you can write down your disk. You can download the operating system in an ISO kind of format file, and which can be burned. We say burning of data, right? Basically, burning means not we are flaming it or putting it in the
फ्रेंड्स बड़ा बाड़
fire.
है यहाँ पे
It's a kind of a technique which basically used to write the data on DVD or CD drives. Question if you have. If you don't have question, I think I should stop at this point because if I initiate it, it won't be finished. Yes, I'll continue this tomorrow. We will finish this topic tomorrow, and I'll give you a quick quiz tomorrow. Would you be ready to do a quiz tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So I'll finish this topic. Computer peripherals. It's a little bit more. Just I think you might be more familiar with different codes, which is available on external casing of the system where you can plug in the different devices here, right? So you can plug in audio. The port is a point of connection, where you plug in the audio devices or game devices or mouse or something like that, right? So ID, this is the ribbon cable. We call ribbon cable. This blue and black colors, 40 pin, 60 pin connectors. Ribbons means those are the buses, right? Parallel lines, parallel connectors. Those are like kind of ribbon, right? Ribbon. If you have ever opened your system, you see the ribbon cable inside coming out of the hard drive and goes to the motherboard, to their IDs connectors, right? USB, I think everybody is familiar with USB kind of port and connection, and SATA is another kind of hard disk connection. Older hard drive and ID kind of connections, right? Has a 40-60 pin connectors, ribbon cable. SATA is now in use in newer hard drives. Network connectors, you see here the network port, Ethernet port, or sometimes we call it Ethernet port, or we call it RJ45 connector, or sometimes we call it LAN connector or LAN port, or sometimes we call it connectors, 8 PHC connectors, because it has 8 connections there, right? I think that's all about for today, and we will continue this, and hopefully we'll finish this topic tomorrow. Different time tomorrow, I'll give you the different type of monitors and printer accessory devices, input output devices. I think I can. If I can spare 10 more minutes, it should be good enough to complete this topic today. Can I take 5 more minutes to explain it? Okay, I think you guys are tired. Okay, we'll continue this. Just a 10 minutes more discussion to complete this topic, and then I'll teach you something good tomorrow. Alright, so question if you have, or no question.
No question, ma'am.
No question. Okay. So let's get to the attendance, and
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes.
I wanted to make a request here. If Jyot is traveling today and he asked me to request you on his
I
behalf
needed to
as
take
if
down.
he can get the class recording for this week so that he can cover up the topics.
Hmm, good question. Um, we'll see if I can do that. I'll try. Cannot promise, but we'll try. Uh,
Okay, ma'am.
if Jot and if Jot, you both are cousins or something like that. Is
No,
she
ma'am.
or he? Is she or her? If I don't remember. If Jot, right? If this core, if Jot core, if Jot sing.
He's saying, ma'am. Sorry, he's saying, ma'am.
Okay. So if Jot is traveling, good to know. Thanks for letting me know. Um, and wishing him enjoy his journey. Way to Canada, right? You are you Devjot, you are already here, right? Devjot?
No, ma'am. No.
So only your friend is traveling, not you?
Yes, ma'am.
Why? Why did you allow him without you not traveling, right?
I'll be traveling next month.
Next month. Okay, good. What I can do, well, ask him if, well, I try. I cannot promise you at this point because this is harder for me to manage the recording and kind of distribution. Um, you know, we'll see what I can do. Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
ma'am.
okay. So, well, when he can resume the class, he's when he's reaching here, like
In 2 days.
2 days is okay. I mean, he can easily make it up. Or ask him if he is not in flight and in his way, he can just kind of dial in the classroom. Dial in the classroom. Don't have to open the, don't have to open the laptop computers and all those accessories. If he's carrying his cell phone and and can just connect to the cell phone through the dial. You can call in this class. Do you know that? There's a dialing number to connect to this one. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there's a, just in case if you're having issues to connect to this class with along with your laptop and all those kind of settings, accessories, and etc. etc. Well, it is recommended to attend the class when you are not traveling, you are not moving, because it may distract your attention. Because I be keep talking, right, and you talking to something else or working on something else, it may distract your attention. So it's not good. Anyways, I'll see what I can. He can make it up when he come back to the class. Hopefully, 1 or 2 days should be fine. Um, uh, all right. So, Karshdeep is there? Karshdeep.
Present, ma'am.
Amandeep Kaur.
Present, ma'am.
Amanveer Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Arjun.
Present, ma'am.
Arshdeep. Gurinder Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Arshdeep is absent.
Ma'am, present. Harshdeep, present.
Okay. I didn't get you earlier. Gurleen
Present, ma'am.
and Gurmanjot.
Always present, ma'am.
Always present. Thank you. Uh, Harmeet Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Jaspal.
Present, ma'am.
Jetanpreet Kaur.
Present, ma'am.
Jobanpreet Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Jobanpreet Singh number 2. Vikranbir Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Kulvinder Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Lovepreet Kaur,
Lovepreet Kaur present, ma'am.
Lovepreet Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Manisha,
Present, ma'am.
Manjot Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Manjot Kaur number 2, absent. Mahakdeep Kaur, Muskan,
Present, ma'am.
Neha,
Present, ma'am.
Parvinder Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Twinkle Jot Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Rajvinder Singh,
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
okay, Robinpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Simarjeet Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Sukhmanpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Sukhpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Sumarpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Vanshika,
Present, ma'am.
Bhavesh,
Present, ma'am.
Manveer Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Sarvopuri,
Present, ma'am.
Ivjot Singh, Kapil,
Present, ma'am.
I'll look at the chat responses in chat box once I close this roll call. Ivjot,
Present, ma'am.
Komalpreet,
Present, ma'am.
Nivjot,
Present, ma'am.
Nivjot number 2,
Ma'am, both are present.
Navneet,
Present, ma'am.
Tushar,
Present, ma'am.
Mohit, absent, Sahil,
Present, ma'am.
Ranveer,
Present, ma'am.
Anu,
Present, ma'am.
Shahbaz, Shahbaz, Shruti,
Present, ma'am.
Monisha,
Present, ma'am.
Shahina,
Present, ma'am.
Harja,
Present, ma'am.
Ranveer,
Yes, ma'am.
Kamalpal,
Yes, ma'am.
Vikrant,
Present, ma'am.
Anish,
Present, ma'am.
some people have responded in the chat box. Mehdi. Okay, Mehdi. Let me see. I think I marked her attendance.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, Shabazz is present. My mic was not on at that time. So could you please mark my present?
Okay.
Ma'am, Shabazz is present.
Yes.
And my absent was marked because my mic was not working at that time. Could you please mark my present?
Yeah, I fixed it. All done? All done, right? So check your attendance and let the attendance tab. Uh, have any question, post it on discussion forum and have it discussed on discussion forum with each other. I'll always encourage you. Any question, concern, something not clear, want to explore something more, don't just waste time with googling the things and try to discuss it among the classroom by posting it on the discussion forum. See you all tomorrow. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully this session is
Excuse me,
useful
ma'am.
for everybody. Yes?
Ma'am, you didn't speak my name.
Who's talking?
Mohit Lohan.
Really? Mm, okay. Did I miss anybody else? Mohit, how come? It's absent. I call your name. And I didn't get a response, then I mark attendance absent. It's marked as an absent. Where you have been? Please try to respond me when I'm calling your name.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so you have to be attending class. If you were not connected when I was calling your name and you come back, hey, you didn't call my name. Please try to follow the classroom norm if possible. That's gonna be helpful for both of us. Anyways, I fixed it for today. Next time, please try to
Thank you, ma'am.
respond when I call your name. Okay?
Sure, ma'am.
So that is important. Attendance means you respond at the time when I'm calling it, right? If you don't respond me at the time, it means you are either away from the computer or you're not in the class. Thanks all for joining me today. Hopefully this session is useful for everyone. Please do let me know about your feedback, a few words or comments, if possible, in the chat box. That's going to be helpful for me. Take care.
Thank you,
See you
ma'am.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am. Hello?
actually यार